Welcome to the Healing Through Love series, where I introduce you to some beautiful and amazing men and women who have helped others to heal through love. This is about healing from and even because of facing and overcoming blocks, traumas, and challenges, and rediscovering, recreating, and finally living your passion, creativity, joy, and ultimately love for yourself and for others. Hi, I'm Dr. Erica Goodstone, Healing Through Love mentor. To me, this is not about what you have accomplished, but also about the kind of person you have to be and become to help others to heal through your love. So today's guest, Elinor Robin, PhD, is a licensed mental health counselor, licensed marriage therapist, Florida Supreme Court certified mediator and primary mediation trainer, and Center for Credentialing and Education Board certified coach. Working within the family, juvenile, civil, and criminal court systems, Dr. Elinor partnered with her beloved husband, David, mediated countless professional and personal relationship disputes, and together they have designed and delivered professional, educational, and personal growth seminars to over 13,000 professionals, successfully assisting in conflict management and transformation. Dr. Elinor's articles and quotes have appeared in such prestigious media as Entrepreneur.com and Forbes.com and others, and her acclaimed books include The Professional Woman's Guide to Conflict Management, 10-Minute Mediator, and The Family Mediator. And in addition, having created, operated, and sold 2 successful small businesses, she's currently involved in a new venture that she calls Grandma's Auctions. So today I'm absolutely delighted to meet with my friend and colleague, Dr. Elinor Robin. Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me here today.
So I want to begin by asking you to please explain for our viewers. You do a lot of things, but the main things are mediation and a friendly divorce. So please explain for our viewers, what is mediation and conflict management? How does it work? Why is it necessary? And then we'll talk about the other part.
Well, many different kinds of disputes can be resolved using mediation. Of course, my area of expertise is in divorce mediation. But mediation itself is simply assisted negotiation. People in conflict sit down with a third person who is impartial, and they are somehow able to magically work things out that they couldn't work out on their own. And there are some reasons why that is the case. But simply, mediation is really just an assisted conversation, but it's an assisted conversation that often yields results that nobody walked in thinking they could get.
I would think one of the reasons would be they're so set in their way of thinking and they're angry and, and emotions get in the way.
Yes, when we're in that limbic system kind of brain, or we're in the back, the reptile brain, where we're in fight, flight, or freeze, it's really hard to sit down and rationally figure something out. So one of the reasons mediation works is because the mediator sees that his or her task as being able to create a safe enough space for people in dispute, so that they can sit down and come from this part of their brain instead of this part of their brain, and rationally see things from their neocortex, cerebral cortex, that kind of stuff.
Beautiful explanation. And that leads into, how can you create a friendly divorce when we know how people feel when they're getting divorced, angry, blaming the person, you know, awful, hostile. Not everyone, but many
Right.
people.
Not everyone. I often tell my clients that they have to really pat themselves on the back because a lot of people don't have the emotional maturity to do what it is that they are doing in working through their divorce, not in an adversarial, attorney driven process. Because the reality is, there is no attorney who can create more money than people have. A couple has X dollars, their net worth, and they have this many children. And when they fight it out with attorneys, even though they, most cases don't go to trial, but there's a whole legal process that they'll engage in with the attorneys. All the attorneys can really do is take a portion of their net worth, depending on how much their net worth is, take that off the top so that the attorneys can get paid. And then the attorneys are going to fight over the rest of the net worth and the rest of the incoming income. And so this way, they're giving away a portion of their net worth to fight over a fraction of it. And it's so illogical that I have no idea how it came about that we use the court system and lawyers to help people restructure their families and their lives. Because even people who don't have children and are getting a divorce, they are still restructuring their lives. And I don't know, if I'm restructuring my life, I think I might need a therapist and an accountant more than I need a lawyer, but that's not the way it often plays out.
But your husband is a lawyer. Am I correct?
He is a lawyer. Yes, he is a lawyer, but he's licensed in Florida, but he does not practice, and he is very clear that his role in our business, the Friendly Divorce, is only as a mediator. And I am, as you said in my wonderful introduction, I am licensed as a marriage and family therapist and a mental health counselor in Florida, but I also don't practice. Yes, I maintain my license, but I don't practice. All I do is these mediations. So both of us have different professional backgrounds. Both of us don't practice those professions.
Or-
We just act as mediators. Yeah.
But he doesn't practice it, but he knows the law and he thinks like that. That makes a difference.
Well, more than knowing the law, when he did practice, he wrote contracts. That's what he did. And he writes really, really good agreements. And one of our goals with our clients always is we want to create an agreement with them that's going to guide them into the future so that anything that happens in the future, there's no fight later on. We don't want them to fight it out today, but we also don't want them to fight it out next year or 5 years or 10 years down the road. And if we write a good enough agreement, chances are we can help them avoid future fights.
Wow. And I wanted to add something when you said you don't practice the counseling. You actually do in your own way
I
during.
always, yeah,
You
yeah,
have a soothing presence, non-judgmental, you're present with them.
yeah,
So it makes a difference. Whereas don't want to generalize, but I would say a lot of attorneys are not so soft and they could be harsh. And,
right.
and so
Right.
you create a safe space. That's
I try very hard. I don't, maybe not, maybe I don't always succeed, but I certainly try very hard.
okay. So now we get to the healing through love part.
Mhm.
In what ways have you helped your clients, the divorce clients first, people going through a divorce, how have you helped them to heal through love?
I think primarily because my focus is always on the whole person. I don't see divorce as just a legal problem. I see divorce as a life transition. And so there really needs to be holistic solutions. If all we were looking at was the legalities of things, um, first of all, I think that that's disempowering for them. My goal is always to educate them so they understand things that they probably didn't understand walking in. Like some people don't, some people think that they can just walk away from their house and give it to their spouse. And they can't if they're on the mortgage. And they don't quite get that. They think, oh, sign a quitclaim deed, I'm out of there. Well, no, you're not out of there. So I try to spend a lot of time on all sorts of education. Everything from educating on how are children reacting to divorce, what might be a good way to help the children usher through this family transition, to information about life insurance and about mortgages. And, I don't tell people what they should do because I don't really know what they should do. My crystal ball broke a long time ago, but I want them to have information so that they can make the best decision for them.
Yeah,
So,
and I wanted to ask something else. Um, People look at the divorce, many people, that I failed, I'm a failure. But when you look at it as a life transition, maybe it wasn't a failure. Maybe they learned from this relationship, they got what they needed, and what they really want is something else at this point.
yes, sometimes I'll tell people I have a little dog that's making a lot of noise here, so we'll ignore him. Sometimes I'll tell people, in the olden days, the life expectancy was 45. So who needed to get a divorce by 45? We died. Whereas now, 45 is midlife. And people don't want to stay married when the marriage isn't working for them and they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s. I mean, we have mediated cases with people in their 70s and 80s. And it's just like if it isn't working, it's time to move on and recreate my life. I think that the way we live today in the United States, basically we are all striving to live our lives the way we want to live them. And yes, people have responsibilities. They can't always, do everything that feels good or, that makes them happy. But to some extent, I think it's exactly as you said, that often the relationship, it had a purpose in the beginning. That purpose has been accomplished, and now it's time to move on.
Yeah, so you help them to be really clear about that.
Yeah.
Okay, and how have you helped professionals to heal through love? Because you do all these professional trainings.
Yes. Well, when I had been in the training business for many years, and I, I think I know I'm a little ADD, and so at some point I was ready really to give up the training business because I don't really like repeating myself. And when you're a trainer or a teacher, you have to keep repeating yourself because there's always a new crop of students. And so, kind of, I was ready to move on from that. And I had a business partner, and I left things with her. And then, unfortunately, this is kind of a sad story. And unfortunately, she passed away. And when she passed away, then what I really wanted to do was create a program for others. Talk about love. This was really an act of love. I wanted to create a program so that I could take professional mediators and bring them through the hoops that they have to jump through in Florida to become mediation trainers because it's a very complicated, cumbersome process. And in fact, I took a group through this cumbersome process, and many of them became trainers. They became certified as trainers, but only 3 of them went into the training business. There was 8 of them, and 3 of them went in the training business. The other five just became trainers, but they didn't go in the training business. And then one of them, the one who had really invested the most of himself in the training business at that time, he passed away.
Hmm.
And so now I still do a little segment. I do the psychological issues of divorce at two of the other trainings, but I have for the most part given up on my continuing mediator education that I used to teach, just because at this point in my life, I'm old and I know, there's not that many years on this side. There's many more years behind me, and I want to really focus my energy and attention on the stuff that gives me juice. I don't know what the word is, but
Great word for it. So this
yeah.
is my next question. So how have you helped your family, friends, and yourself to heal through love? Because that's what we all have to come down to in the end.
Yes, I mean, sometimes I'll talk to somebody on the phone. They're never going to be a client for whatever reason. And when somebody calls me on the phone, I try my best to help them, guide them, give them information. People are often telling me your phone call changed my life. And so I know that so many people, professionals, not you, but others, I think you're from the Elinor school of this philosophy. It's like I've accumulated this knowledge throughout my life. I want to at least let somebody else benefit from it. And I think that sometimes those of us who are in these kind of professions, we have the ability to see from the outside what people on the inside can't really see. And so when somebody calls me, if I can help them based on what they tell me, sort of hold up a mirror so that they can see a clearer picture, I try to do that. But you asked me about my friends and family. Somebody very close to me recently got divorced, and it was a very sad, there was no children, but very sad situation. And she was very upset for quite some time. And I told her, if I have to put you on my back and carry you through this tunnel, I am going to get you to the other side.
That's
So I can't do that for my clients exactly, but I think that for whatever reason in this life, I have been given the ability to take somebody on my back and carry them over to the other side. And I find that I do that pretty frequently. Why? I don't know, but I do.
yeah, I can see you really helping other people a lot without trying.
That's what with and without trying. Yeah.
I'll share something. We once had an appointment. We were doing some project, and you had a friend call that just told you she had cancer. So you just stopped what you're doing, and you were really taking care of her. And I was so mad at you at that moment. But now looking back, I see I wouldn't be mad. I think it was beautiful. So
I
it
don't even remember who that was.
was just like a little thing that I remember.
Yeah.
But so the other thing is, I know as we're getting older, we have health issues. So in what ways have you healed yourself through love? Yourself,
Oh,
no, not others.
I think that my focus always is on being true to myself. So, I sometimes I think the word love. Do you hear him crying? He's terrible. I hope you don't hear him crying. He's sitting here by my feet
No, I
crying.
don't hear it. So that's
Oh, good, good, good. Anyway, I think that somehow the word love, sometimes the meaning is just too blurred. I will tell you that how I heal myself, if I have to take that concept and heal myself through love, I would say it's by honoring myself. I like that word much better than love. Like, how do I honor myself? I honor myself by trying to be true to myself, by following my what's important to me? What are my priorities? What's my vision for the future? What do I think is the right thing to do? Where should I and how should I do it? So, what's the right thing? How do I do it? And, being honoring myself is the way to love myself, I think.
And so I think you've already answered it, but if you were going to give advice to our listeners, I guess of a way to live their life or how to have the great relationships that they want or whatever they want, what would you say?
That's it. It is honor yourself. Listen to yourself. Sometimes nobody ever says, I I heard a voice tell me to do this and I didn't, and I did it and I'm sorry. Nobody ever says, I trusted my gut and my gut was wrong. No. Often we don't listen to, our deeper intuition and then we regret it. But when we listen, we always win. That's the truth. So we have to listen to ourselves and honor ourselves.
I totally agree. Dr. Eleanor, this was just beautiful speaking with you.
You too.
And thank you so much for participating. And
Thank you.
information will be on the page. So I want to tell all of you to please check out the website relationshiphealingtoolbox.com. Click the link to the Healing Through Love series, get your free gift, and be on the list to hear about upcoming events or interviews. And they're all beautiful like this one. Special people doing beautiful work in the world and then becoming that person that they help others to be. And I also invite you to visit my main website, drericagoodstone.com, to send me a message or find out how I might be able to help you to be able to heal through love. So thank you, Dr. Eleanor, and be well.